Episode 8 of our video podcast. Not the result that we wanted against the champions of Macedonia overall, but what a great night it was at Park Hall. Immediately afterwards, we spoke to Ben Cabango. Ben, it's been an incredible few weeks for you, topped off by a goal in the Champions League tonight.
Yeah, mad few weeks. Obviously going away to Macedonia, never got the result we wanted, losing 5-0, but then come back to the venue today and superb performance, beating them 4-0, almost going through on the night. Everyone wrote us off, but yeah, and obviously with the goal that topped it off, quality performance from all the boys. It's been quite a few weeks.
And how did you feel when that goal hit the back of the net?
It was an absolute mad feeling to score my first Champions League goal. It's like, yeah, it's a dream come true, to be honest. Yeah, really happy.
And I suppose we can go back to a week ago. You made your debut in the Champions League, signed for Swansea City, professional contract recently. The day afterwards you travelled to Portugal with the New Saints on a training camp, 6 months on loan here. It's been an incredible few months for you.
Yeah, everything's moving so fast and I'm learning so much every day here. And obviously the Champions League experience is something different for me, and yeah, it's helped me a lot. Obviously my debut never went the best, but yeah, I'm learning and yeah, it's helping my game a lot.
Well, Champions League this week, Europa League next week against the champions of Gibraltar.
Yeah, we just have to take what we've done. We just have to take what we've done today into the next week's game, take all that momentum, and I think we'll turn the team round if we play as we did today. So yeah, hopefully we can bring the performance back next week and go again.
And what was Scott's message after the game to the players?
You just, as I just said, just take the momentum. We just then obviously beating this quality team 4-0 proves how good we are. So yeah, we can do it against any team, and especially in the Europa League against this Gibraltar team now.
Well, Ben, congratulations on making your Champions League debut. Congratulations on scoring a goal, and all the very best next week.
Cheers, thank you.
As always, we feature manager Scott Ruscoe. This time, slightly different. This is the press conference with the Oswestry Advertisers, Barry White, asking the questions.
Yeah, it's true. I've been playing it down all week about our chances, but if you look at that performance, that's one of the best performances you'll see from our club in Europe. The standard of the opposition was higher than what we're used to, higher than what we expected. But tonight we controlled the game from minute 1 till 97, and really, if you look at it, the chances we had, we should have won the game 5 or 6. They've only had that chance at the end there, and I just felt, possibly after the second goal, could it be our night? You've got to manage the game, which we did very well, and make sure they don't get the away goal. But really proud, and if that's the reaction you get when you let yourselves down, then that's it's first class.
The bare minimum, we've spoken a few times this week, the bare minimum you asked for was for the players that, and there was only 2 changes tonight, wasn't it? Yeah. The players that played last week put right the wrongs of a terrible performance, and do you think you got that?
Yeah, I did. Like I say, from Paul up to whoever was on the left wing or number 11 or whatever, was just, the fitness levels there was magnificent. Never ever they in doubt, because I know how hard they work, but what they actually did with the football and how many chances they created, we just don't get that in Europe. And tonight, because sort of the shackles were off and we had a point to prove, I thought every one of them was magnificent.
John Maltwoods takes that performance across Europa League, Welsh Premier League, Welsh Cup. He's going to have an unstoppable season, isn't he?
Yeah, so if you play like that, anywhere near that level, we'll dominate. Obviously we played that Iron Brew competition, we played the League Cup, Welsh Cup. If you play like that, no one's good enough to do anything against us. But it's reaching that level week in, week out, and we don't get tested. So we're on a bit of a peak and trough and whatever. So Replicating that, certainly next Thursday we've got to replicate that, the very minimum, because there's nothing worse now than doing okay here. We're out of this competition now. Nothing worse than doing well here and then going out the Europa, which we're looking for a run in. Because
of the nature of the first leg deficit, you could have been forgiven for already turning your thoughts onto Red Imps. Does that mean now that it's easier to pick the players up because you're already prepared for that game next week?
I know all about Red Imps. We watched them anyway. We're watching them all week because that's the next thing. I'm not, like I've said, I am optimistic, but I'm realistic. That's not going to happen every week, is it? So I looked at Red Imps and look at their strengths and weaknesses and their players that can hurt us and things. And a team that play on 3G, just like us, it's going to be a tough test, but we've got to go again next week now. And the lads have just got to think about how it was in this game and produce that performance, that tempo to the performance again.
As you can see, we're in the gym with some of the players. I'm not going to be using any of the equipment, but I did have a chat with Chairman Mike Harris about the Macedonia tie, and then Mike diversified and spoke with us on other subjects. They talk about a game of two halves. Well, this was certainly a tie of two halves, 5-0 in Macedonia, and then a 4-0 victory here at Park Hall on the return. Mike, that's incredible.
It is, and as much as it's a great feat, still leaves a little bit of disappointment because we had far more chances than they did within their win. Whatever caused our players to stall over there, I don't know. It's difficult to say. There is one aspect of that game which I'm very disappointed about. The referee over there probably needs to go back to school to do some counting, because 10 yards or 10 steps is 10 steps in my book, but obviously in his 12, which obviously gave their number 7 the ability to put the ball where he did. Now I'm not, he may well have still been able to put it in the same place, but if he's got an extra 2 paces advantage, that perhaps cost us the time.
But moving on to the positive, Mike, what a game it was here at Park Hall.
Well, I think what was the positives are, the public who came here, people who came for the first time, people who followed us online perhaps in the past, or perhaps were actually got a taste of what the quality of this league is all about. If you look at it last night, Wrexham played Bangor. I think they drew 2-2. And no disrespect, I mean, Bangor are obviously going to push to try and get re-promoted to the Welsh Premier League. Shrewsbury Town lost to Newtown. We can all argue about the qualities of teams that each team can be putting out, but at the end of the day, they are putting out supposedly their best 11 to handle that game. So it's showing that the Welsh Premier League is moving on and moving upwards. That team that we played last night, as I said after the first day, I couldn't understand how they won 5-0 because I didn't think they were any Rijeka. I mean, last year we deserved to get the beating we got. This year we are a lot better than last year, and the team we played, albeit a very good side, were not of the same quality as Rijeka. So I'm bamboozled to the 5-0. I can see how we could win 4-0. And in all fairness, I think they perhaps underestimated us as well, because 1 or 2 of their key players they did try to rest. But as you can see by the second half, they were...
Telephone call there, Mike. Anyone interesting?
No, I'm afraid not.
Could have a live telephone call on the video podcast?
No, we'll leave for the call till later. But no, it's one where they... I think we showed people that we could play at a level which can compete in the seeding that we've got in the Champions League, based on 1/5 of their salary budget. The team that we played last night has a €3 million wage bill, and we've been always very open. Our wage bill comes to 600,000, including all taxes. So we pay our taxes. You can go through our books, and so to compete at that level, I was very impressed with what we've been able to put together. Long term, for us to make an impact to go further, we probably need to be looking at between £1 and £1.5 million more, so that for a wage budget to be able to put out a team that can play on that performance and that level each time they come of asking. But obviously, there's no point in going there if that's not sustainable, which then would also be where other clubs perhaps fail, is they look to try and do something one season and then can't repeat it. So for us to be able to move forward, it's about taking very tiny steps forward, which are affordable. And each time you push that boat forward, you make the clubs that can compete year on year on year on year, and that's something which is we do need help. Other clubs also need to learn how to do that. They need support, whether it's from local sponsors, whether it's from attracting wealthier individuals onto their boards. But that can only happen with the profile of the game also improving. So the Welsh FA need to continue to help. I think that they should help more financially, even though they're doing a far better job than we were 15 years ago. But there's still more that could be done, and they've got to make our product, or help make the product, more fashionable, and that comes through marketing. I mean, I have my views on the FAW's marketing. I think that they could, for our league, do more. I think overall they help us immensely well, but we can all improve. And I think that if they were to, if they were perhaps to sometimes come and ask for some help. I've run multi-million-pound businesses. My organisation, when I sold it in 2005, was 3 times the turnover of the FAW, and we grew that from nothing. So, those skills, they don't always like to come and ask for their help. And which we more than happy to give those services free, and I have volunteered many occasions to the FAW. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a criticism of them. I just want to poke them a little bit to perhaps come and let's get this game sorted out at a domestic level. They've invested heavily and well in the national team. They do obviously a lot of grassroots. Again, they don't have an endless bucket of money, but I think if you look to what is required, the teams that compete in Europe need to be able to find ways to train more, have more time with their players, recruit better talent, and then play at a higher standard more often. And as much as I personally would prefer an expanded league, perhaps 16, 20 teams, but in reality that would divert, there was no way in a million years that could be properly funded to the level to make any difference when it comes to Europe. Might make it a little bit more interesting for fans, but 10 more people on a gate, or having 5, 10, 6 more teams where they all bring 100 people, is not going to seriously change the dynamic of Welsh domestic football. So you really got to look at what does change the dynamic, which would be, I'd love to task the FAW to say, look, put £1 million into this league, get a television deal with a television organisation with £1 million, and a sponsor with £1 million, and then divide that up, and probably divide that up between 8 teams. But the actual qualification to be part of that 8, they must be full-time, because that would give them the underpinning finance to put together a team, which could be training daily or to whatever they've managed, but it doesn't become, well, I can't get Joe Bloggs on this Saturday because you've got to do a Saturday shift as opposed to. It means that they, and I think that's where we've really got to seriously look at, and I think the FAW are the organisation to go to the market, go and find a Coca-Cola or an organisation that projects the right image as well. I mean, as much as I don't mind, I suppose we all sell our souls a little bit. I mean, I've never been a big fan of having betting companies like probably cigarettes are now out of fashion for sponsorship. I mean, possibly out in good living organisations or neutral branded images of organisations that can take advantage of a national league, because this national league does have access to everything that every other national league in Europe gets access to. So there is a value there, but it's how do we articulate it? The people who are articulating, we're only as good as the people who put together the articulation of the value of our league. I mean, this league ran with no sponsor for many years after the photocopy people, Konica, left. And in my early years, I volunteered to go on to what was then the Welsh, it was the League of Wales panel, and I said, "Oh, you need a sponsor," and they challenged me to do it. I found them a sponsor, which was JT Hughes, and ultimately became Mitsubishi. And that was the first sponsor they'd had for many years. But and after that, as that sponsorship matured, it's matured into where it's gone today. I've had no further involvement in it since the Mitsubishi days. But to get that initial piece going, that's where you need to then push and re-articulate what we've got. I think we had probably missed some really good golden windows when Wales were drawn against England in the qualifiers of the World Cup going back 10, 15 years ago, perhaps a little bit more. That was a time when the people, when they negotiated the television deal, not for money, we should have negotiated it for guaranteed airtime on Sky, not allow Sky to slip it off to the national broadcaster, which ended up becoming regional. And this is no criticism of S4C, they do a great job for the game here, but ultimately the job there would have been so much easier to attract sponsorship if it was going out on Sky as well. Because probably Sky wouldn't have wanted to have carried the league, but they were desperate to have Wales-England in their portfolio of rights. And I think that was the trick that was missed then. And it's difficult to go back in time. Those are the hindsight visions, but what was the advice I was giving the FAW at the time? We didn't like that advice with the previous people that were there. But in hindsight, I'm not speaking of hindsight now, I believe, and I know that would have been the best deal that they could have done. So today, the Aberystwyths, the Newtowns of this world, if there was a content programme of our league on, those boards around the ground can easily attract people who say, I see that board on a Saturday, I see it on Sky, I know that's being broadcast to millions of people, I want a piece of it, here's 500 quid. Where today, and this is no disrespect to S4C, the audience is limited predominantly by language, and it is a captive audience of probably 60, 70,000 with people who are naturally interested then in football coming to our station. And yes, you've got the red button, you can get but ultimately you're going to get a limited viewage, and that then means that the value of those boards subsequently become worth less, and probably to organisations limited within that population reach. So simple little things like that. Taking our TV rights and perhaps giving them away to Asia 10, 15 years ago, not worrying about any money for them at that point, but developing a fan base worldwide. Because content is expensive. I think the English Premier League may have done that back in the day. Today, their value now across the world is equaling their domestic television. So their only way to grow their money going forward, because I think the domestic rights will come down at the next renewals, they'll have to push the market bigger, which will subsequently bring them more money. But again, those are markets which we could have been in. We've got to play catch up all the time, and I still think that there's, in conjunction with the FAW and in partnership with the FAW, we should be getting cleverer. And we should be working more cohesive. I still think that the FAW should look to structure perhaps more representation into the associations from the clubs. Because if you look at the clubs today, they are run by some very shrewd people, some very shrewd chairmen out there. I won't go into individual names, it's wrong, but all the Welsh Premier clubs, to be where we are with the licensing, with everything else, which is put on you, you have to be shrewd, you have to be hard-working, and you have to know the game. So those people, I think, should be having more say in the running of the association. And again, the FAW members do a great job today, but I think a lot of the knowledge that they bring comes from the administration of the game. Perhaps ex-referees, perhaps association, minor leagues and secretaries, etc., etc. Great people. The game wouldn't exist without them. But that needs to be tempered with people who act in a commercial and a chairman's role from within our league at the very top, who found ways to compete at the very top, because it's no easy feat bringing licensing and getting the licensing. It's a very difficult thing. And those people show now how they do, whether they've got small budgets, big budgets, how they've got their grounds to where they've got them to pass those tests. Those people are needed in the association, and their knowledge would be good to keeping that knowledge growing, and perhaps pushing our association to bring more to this league. And that starts to bring currency to the clubs. It also stops the skill drain going to England thinking it's a better career for them.
Mike, some very thought-provoking comments there. You mentioned about the chairman and the people that run the clubs being more involved in the FAW. Is this a Mike Harris come and get me appeal to the FAW?
No, I left the FAW about 10 years ago. I resigned. The position I felt I was in, I left, was untenable. I mean, I achieved some of the goals, but certain things were untenable if we continue to serve as a director. I understand what directors' responsibilities are, and those responsibilities responsibilities were never addressed at that time. I prefer to let that sleeping dog lie. When those issues are no longer relevant, I would always consider representing our league again. But this is a more of a, I think our general representation should open from just one representative, which we have on council, to probably 3, possibly 4. Because the needs of the game at the domestic level will be understood better than the needs from the game as it is today. Because the representation is a little bit skewed towards grassroots and national team. The bit where we are, we rely on one person, one vote out of 27, 28 of them, and that voice is very easily drowned out. And I think that we should really push for more chairman or more representation from the Welsh Premier clubs. And perhaps that will naturally happen if the reformation happens, where we get a promotion relegation league sitting directly below, which then will become more of a Welsh Premier League 1 and 2, and those over time those clubs that are circulating between the two get representation onto the FAW. So again, thought-provoking. I hope. Hopefully they don't all put their head over their hand and go, oh, it's criticism. But I think constructive criticism is the only way the game can ever move forward. So if you're listening to FAW, we're here to help. We want to work in collaboration, but we're only starting the journey, and we haven't completed it. That journey started 10, 15 years ago, and now we want to keep that journey going. So it's more coal on the fire, more petrol on the fire, more steam. Perhaps as opposed to when we first did it, it was put some petrol in, it doesn't really matter what burns because there was nothing there to start with. Now we've already made a big success of Welsh Premier League, and the people that play within it. It has its downsides, but let's work on those. So now it's time to go to stage 2. How do we get the next? I said again, I'm a big believer in a bigger league, but tempered with the fact that I think the only way that our league will get its head above the parapet is doing better in Europe, and the only way we'll do better in Europe is by getting better funding. And it's, albeit we may be on the trap door of dropping into and losing those places, but if you look at the financial element to it, we are where the finances of those clubs are, slightly above the other clubs that sit below us. And last year when we played Europa, their wage bill was higher than mine. I'm pretty sure at Reading, when we play them next week, their wage bill will be higher than ours. They're part-time.
Well, Mike, we started with Europe, we've ended with Europe. Thank you for your time today. Very much appreciated.
No problem. Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. Don't forget to check out our website tnsfc.co.uk for all things relating to what goes on here at the home of the Champions of Wales. Over to you, Tom.